Welcome to the PeakDay podcast, where we discuss natural family planning and fertility with our friends. Our guests today are Mariana Lopez and Carlos de la Torre. Mariana and Carlos have been married for 15 years and they have 4 children. They're both software engineers by background, though Mariana now homeschools their children full time. For nearly a decade, they've also been teaching natural family planning together, something they're very passionate about sharing. Thank you, Mariana and Carlos, for being on the Peak Day podcast today.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you, Martha, for having us.
So I know it was like over 15 years ago, but just tell us how you two met.
Yeah, we celebrated actually April 17, the day we started dating 20 years ago,
21.
21 years ago. So we met in Mexico. As you said, our background, we're software engineers. So it was my second job as a software engineer. And I think for you
My
was
first one,
your
yeah.
first one, her first job in Mexico City. So we met in a software company there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was not Catholic. So we were just friends because I was like, no, I'll just marry a Catholic one day. So we were both not interested because we had different faith backgrounds.
Yeah, when we met, I wasn't very interested into her. I mean, in that aspect, right? From the time that immediately when I talked to her, I like her. I mean, when we were talking, she was fun. It was really nice to talk to her. But I immediately said, no, she's Catholic, so I cannot date her.
So what changed?
Yeah, I think what Carlos said, that it took us a while to finally decide to get married, is that we had the elephant in the room, right? Like, I'm Catholic, he's Protestant. And we tried to convince each other, but that didn't work out. So we were just like, okay, let's just respect each other's faith backgrounds. And we decided to get married in the Catholic Church. He agreed to do that and to raise the children Catholic. And that gets us into NFP territories. Um, because as we were getting closer to our wedding, we did marriage prep and we took a class for NFP. And I always knew that NFP was what the church said couples should use for family planning. And but he realized I was serious about it very close to the wedding. I think it was 2 to 3 weeks before the wedding where he's like, "You're not serious about this, right?" But I was like, "No, like I'm serious about it."
Yeah, and because of the different backgrounds in my church, I never heard anything against contraception. It was a topic that it was not taught. Um, so to me, what she was telling me, it was kind of news to me. I knew that the Catholics before were the talking about NFP, but I thought that modern Catholics or modern
Yeah, like nobody used it.
nobody used it, right? So he said, no, that doesn't apply. It's something that the Catholic Church forgot to update the teaching. Um,
And
but
it's just old
yeah,
fashioned.
old fashioned, and nobody's doing it. So when we took the class, and because I told her, yeah, let's take the class and see how it is. And then when I understood the abstinence periods and all that, it sounded to me like, again, it's not nothing wrong with the abstinence periods, but what I saw that it was wrong is like for a modern couple like us, right? Like both working, like trying to have a schedule on when you can be together. That didn't seem practical, right? So I said, and then I said, why do you want to follow this teaching that nobody follows? So it was a big
Yeah, and for him, he was like, well, I agreed to get married in the Catholic Church. We're raising our children Catholic. Can you just like agree we use some other kind of birth control? But I was like, no, I can't. And it was not just being stubborn or anything like that. It was it was a conscience thing for me. It was almost like he was making me choose between God and him. Like I was like, I cannot agree on other thing, and it's not out of just like this. It has to be my way. Uh, but I didn't really understand the teaching or the reason behind NFP. It was just like Catholic following the rules, So yeah, we had a big, I think that's been our worst this like argument ever. Like as Carlos said, we've had a very good relationship. And he was like, I don't think we can get married. I think we have to call off the wedding.
Yeah.
And besides the all the things that we were getting married in Mexico, friends were traveling, like everything was already like paid for. And besides all like going through that, like how am I going to tell everyone? It was more the heartbreak of I love this person, but I don't know, like I think God wants me to do something else, right?
Yeah. So it was a hard week, that one, because for a moment it was canceled, right? It was
Oh
like, okay, it's
yeah.
not, we're not getting married. But then she challenged me, right? Like, okay, well, then what we're going to use, right? So I started doing some research about contraception because again, I assumed that that's what we were going to do. I didn't give much thought before that. But then I started that week, I started researching and said, oh yeah, what we're gonna use. So I started researching the pill. I assumed that it was going to be the pill because that's what everybody uses and the most common. But then I started to see some bad things about the pill that is abortifacient. For example, I didn't know that it has things to to even the
Yeah, the
abort
baby implants.
the baby,
Yeah.
not letting the baby implant. And I didn't know that. For me, it was a surprise. And also the side effects on the woman and all that. So yeah. So at the end, I say, okay, I don't have a good answer for you. So I decided to leave it in the hands of God, and I say, well, I love her. I want to marry her. So I think I'm going to accept this. But in the back, I was thinking like, okay, this is not gonna work. When she starts to see that this doesn't work, she's gonna let me after two kids, let me have a vasectomy or something, right? Um, so that's what I was thinking that because I was convinced this is not gonna work. So I said, okay, when she see that it's not working, she will accept some contraception, some method, right? Um, so yeah, so we got
Yes,
married.
yeah. So he finally came and he's like, okay, I let's do NFP, but I knew he was not 100% in. It was more like, okay, like this is very important to you. I don't agree, but because I love you, we'll do it. And yeah, so we got married, and but we started. It was hard at the beginning because I kind of wanted it to work to prove him because I didn't even believe that NFP was, effective. And we hear all these messages from the world like, oh, you have to have control about the size of your family and when and how many kids you are going to have. So I felt very lonely. I want to say the first couple, 2, 3 years of our marriage in that sense, because it was all on me. Like I had to chart, and he was just like, you just tell me when, and that's it. And I always was afraid of this big argument coming back, right? But I started to get surprised as I started charting, and the method was working amazingly. Like when we wanted to conceive, we were able to conceive. When we wanted to postpone, we were able to do that. Like to this date, our 4 kids have been all planned, and we have been using NFP through postpartum and now I guess perimenopause, and it's just been very effective. But I didn't know where he was standing at that point.
Right. Carlos, where were you when you started to see that maybe this is going to work?
So yeah, so the months started to pass, and also I started to see some good things that I was surprised, right? So I thought that we were going to be arguing a lot because again we're a busy couple. Uh, it was going to be a weekend, and she would tell me, "No, we cannot be together this weekend because yeah, we're trying to postpone, so we cannot be together." And I thought that was going to be a problem, but actually it happened, obviously, but it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't easy, but also it wasn't not a tragedy, right? It was like, okay, let's do something else, right? So and that something else was good because we were being romantic without being physical, right? Which is important. It's a thing, something that definitely you need as a couple, right? It's very important that you are, because not because of NFP, because many reasons in a marriage, sometimes you cannot be together, right? You are sick, or your kid is sick, or you just had a baby, or there are a lot of
Travel.
reasons that you cannot be together whenever you want to, right? So I started to feel like, oh, this is nice that I can now enjoy her without being physical, right? So we started to going for dinner, same thing, very romantic again, without being physical, talking a lot, which also is good. So I started to liking that. So that was one of the first things. The second thing is that this period of abstinence, it was a good anticipation to when you could be together, right? So we were starting to have these periods, like they felt
Like a mini honeymoon.
like a mini honeymoon. When you have this you start to see the day, like, oh yeah, this day we can be together. So it created that anticipation, that desire. And also I start to see, oh, this is good for marriage too, right? Because it keeps the flame, right? It keeps
The
the
attraction.
attraction.
Yeah.
For example, that I started to see, like, after 1 year, like, oh, this is good. And actually I started to get, oh, this is nice. I mean, I think this helps marriages, right? I can see how this is going to help us.
So you guys kind of ended up on the same page as far as using NFP for your marriage.
Yeah, so we didn't talk about it for years. I didn't know. I kept thinking one day he'll come to me and he'll be like, "That's enough. This doesn't work. Let's find a different method." But that didn't happen. And then one day he just came and said he was interested in becoming Catholic.
For me, for us, there was a transformation, right? It was not only to help our marriage, but there was a transformation for me, like, because again, because I was living NFP, and it took years for me to accept that the Catholic Church won on this teaching, right? I mean, okay, you are right? So, and when I saw that it was true, then I wanted to learn more about the Catholic Church, right? And this is when I started getting close to Mariana. Okay, tell me more about other teachings, not only this one, right? What about saints, but now from a different angle, right? When before,
I think for him, like having been like so or objected so much to a teaching and such a, I think it's one of the hardest teachings of the Catholic Church, the stance on contraception and all of that, and then having come around like 180 and be like, I see the benefits. Then it was this like, oh, let me look into this more. And there's this phrase, and I think in one of the church's documents, I don't know if it's John Paul II's, but it says that NFP leads to virtue. And when we read it together, and it was true, because also for me, I wanted to do natural family planning because it was the rule that I need to follow, but I didn't really understand the why. But by practicing it, I could see it. Like we were experiencing it in our marriage, in this like sacrifice, and just how God was blessing us, right, in our marriage.
so yeah, so I got convinced, and I started to learn about other teachings, the baptism of infants, confession, and then finally the Eucharist, which was the final thing, like, was the last thing that for me to believe. But when I understood it, and I believed it, well, okay, I need to be Catholic.
And then Carlos, you became a Catholic at some point. How long into the marriage was that?
Yeah, so I became Catholic in
2018.
2018. So 8 years after we got married. So it was, to me, felt like a long journey. And the surprising thing is, I was when I also other the things that I wanted when we got married is, I thought I was going to convert her, right, to my faith, right, to what. So because for me it was impossible to be Catholic, because in the church that I grew up, and because of my parents, we were very anti-Catholic.
Yeah, there's pastors. Like he has uncles that are pastors. Like not no one in his family and extended family are Catholic. So it was this thing like, how am I even going to tell them? It's just this thing like Catholics, like, no.
Yeah, so it was that's what I resisted a lot, but again, I thought that okay, I found the truth, so I'm gonna say no to the truth, and I feel like I was living it. I was living the truth. It was not only like okay, I learned about this. It's I'm living it,
Yeah, you were experiencing it.
experiencing it, feeling it. So
Yeah, and I think something very important for him for his conversion, because he got to a point, he started RCIA, and then this he did it 1 year, he was not ready. He did it a second year, but at that time he was trying to do daily mass when he was at work. Like sometimes he would go to daily mass, and he was like, I'm not ready. But then I'm not sure about the
yeah,
Eucharist.
the in those because I liked it to go to daily mass, but then at some point to for me to go to daily mass was a little bit hard because I need to a lunch run to the mass from work, so it was a lot of it was some effort, right? But then at some point I started to feel okay, all this effort, but I cannot participate completely in the mass, right? Something is missing. Why I'm doing through all this effort if I cannot participate fully in the mass because the part that was missing again was the Eucharist. So that I started to feel like okay, there's no point for me coming to mass if I not participate
Yeah, like a
completely.
yearning.
Yeah. So that desire was the final thing to decide to become Catholic. Yeah.
And then, how long have you been teaching natural family planning then? What kind of made you decide to become teachers?
So this was in 2015. I think that's when we started. Carlos finally started telling me, "Hey, after years of being married,
Mhm.
he's like, I've been talking to my friends about NFP," and I'm like, "What?" So he has some friends, like atheist friends, and he's like, "Why are you on birth control?" And so he was already debating like in favor of NFP without me knowing. So I'm like, okay. So we started to read about some documents of the church, like theology of the body and John Paul II's writings. And I think it was just like God again, like he had a plan. So somehow I got an email from the diocese. They were looking for couples that wanted to become teachers, and I ran it by Carlos, and he's like, I don't know, like we're too busy. We just had our third baby. So I talked to the woman who sent this information, and she's like, okay, if you think about it, it will be a seminar in San Francisco on November 14th. And that's our wedding date. So that's our anniversary. So it was this like, when God is like, hey, I'm here. So I was like, okay, we'll be there. So it just felt like, I don't know, those coincidences, right? So we were there at the seminar to get trained. It was like 3 days. It was 3 days. Yeah, like a
Yes.
full weekend with like 10, 12 couples. So that was 2015. And then we have been teaching since then. And I would say teaching and also promoting it. Um, we have helped with marriage prep, and we have given intros to NFP. But yeah, and opportunities like this as well.
Yeah, and the reason to teach when she told me, I was again very convinced about the method. Said, yeah, we need to share this. So that's why also I wanted to become a teacher because I said this is gonna help marriages. So I want to share. And she said I was sharing with my friends. I didn't know exactly how. So I said, okay, I want to learn how to share this. And that's why we decided to become teachers.
Do you teach Spanish speaking couples as well as English?
For the most part, and things have changed after COVID. But before COVID, we would teach mostly or only to Spanish speaking couples, but we would do NFP introductions to mainly English speaking couples. Uh, for the San Francisco diocese. So once a month we would go there, and all the couples that were engaged, we will talk to them.
So it sounds like there's a lot of like ignorance about this particular teaching of the church about NFP in marriage, using NFP in marriage. So, what do you think, would be when would be the best time for, somebody to learn about this teaching in particular? Because it sounds like waiting until engagement time is kind of too late.
I would think even like starting, I went to Catholic school and they, I think they taught me like, oh, these are the valid methods that you can use as a Catholic, but they didn't go into the why. But I would think at that age I was receptive. It was just it's like, oh, like I can understand that, right? So I would say like middle school, I start talking, and I know there's some programs that they start to talk about fertility awareness or kind of like know for women to know their cycle. I think that's very empowering.
Yeah, I completely agree. This should be taught since very young age. There's no reason why not to, and make it clear. Okay, this is what the Catholic Church says,
And
uh,
why?
and the why. The why is also very
Mm-hmm.
important. All these benefits that I was telling, and when we promote the benefits that we say, we you say about the NFP, but also the why. The why is very important, and young people can understand. I think that
Yeah.
perfectly, and even with the things happening right now, the divorce rate and all that, they can say, okay,
What
what
can I do
what can
about
I
it?
do about it? Even if I'm not dating, I'm 15 years old. I can think that I don't want to get divorced, right? Why do I need to start thinking now or doing now to avoid that, right?
Yeah, it's very empowering as a woman to understand like what like and we go through years of schooling and it's like you don't understand how your body works, like it doesn't make any sense.
What do you guys find most rewarding about teaching natural family planning?
For me, the reward when I feel good about doing this is, yeah, after talking about it. Um, so because I know that this is again an important topic, an important seed, that if somebody listens, even if they don't accept it, is this seed that is going to to grow, hopefully to grow. But and also if they accept it, also I feel so well, like, okay, if they're gonna do it, I'm pretty sure again, the I'm convinced that I'm reducing the chances of divorce, right? I'm reducing substantially. So that's very rewarding. Like you tell somebody a really good advice, a really good advice, that is going to make their life successful. I mean, their marriage successful, and therefore their life successful, which is translated in happiness, right? In real happiness. So for
Yeah,
me, that's the reward.
and for me it's similar, and I think it's answering to that call of why didn't anyone talk about this, and like, well, now it's our chance to do it. And also we've had, I would say, one of the most rewarding things we've encountered couples or heard about their stories, but like one couple, we bumped into each other years after we taught them, but we never heard about them again. And many times we teach them and we don't know if they used it. We don't know what happened after. And this couple, we bumped into them and she's like, oh, like, we want to thank you because this has changed our marriage and we would like to teach. And then it's just this like, whoa, like, yeah, as Carlos was saying, the planting seeds, and maybe some of those seeds we won't know what happened, and God knows.
Yeah, and it's also the reward that you are doing something good, right? And again, it's not like you feel like a saint, but it's like, yeah, I'm teaching or talking something about that is good.
That's something that matters to us.
Yeah, yeah.
So, is NFP instruction a requirement in your diocese? Or if not, should it really be?
Yeah, well, it's not. And our pastor, he's super supportive of NFB. And I think he wants to make it required. But yeah, the diocese does not require. And I think he was asking couples to at least take a class, but it was not enforced.
Yeah, and to answer, yes, it should be required by a diocese. Um, And again, and for example, I attended, I know it was a few years ago, convention, or was from my diocese, where
Conference.
all the priests of the diocese were there, and they were discussing about teaching the NFP, or make it a requirement. And many of the priests say, no, no, no. Um, I and I talked to some of them, like, okay, you should really bring it. And many priests, I don't think they are convinced. They fear, like, now contraception is so into the world, like they're going to lose people, or it's going to be a lot of debates around it. So I think many priests, and it's justified, they're afraid to enforce it, right? But I think at the end of the day, because of the benefits, and I feel like sometimes some priests don't understand. Okay, but the benefits is that your divorce rates are gonna go low, and because of that, more families are going to be in your parish. I mean, if the family stays together, most likely their faith will stay together, right? So priests are starting to understand that. So I think it should be required. For example, our priest, because of this question, I asked him, "Is this a requirement?" He said no, but he said, I would like to make it a requirement." I think he will, because I think we have a good priest in our parish. But again, if we bring it, the church should see, like, if we make it a requirement everywhere, there's going to be it's a long-term good thing. We're going to see changes in our parishes with more people, because families are going to stay together, right? So that's the benefit for everybody.
It's something that CCL just came out with. Oh, I don't even know if it's been a year. Maybe it's been a year, but it's an introduction to natural family planning, kind of like what you're talking about is the why you should want to use natural family planning in your marriage. It's beautiful. And there are testimonies from couples who are using it, and there are doctors talking about the benefits, yeah, and the pitfalls of using contraceptives. So it's a really great like intro course, and we don't really talk about any one method in particular. We talk about all the different methods that there are. So it's really just kind of an encouragement for couples to, see it. Okay, maybe natural family planning is a good idea. Maybe we should take an actual course. So that's kind of what we're hoping will come out of, parishes showing the natural plan intro program, and then that gets the couples interested in becoming, in taking a class. So if you have a chance to look at that, I know that if you were to contact the CCL office, they would give you like a free preview of the natural plan course. And if you wanted to show that to your parish, your pastor, you could get a free preview.
Maybe that would be a good idea. Yeah.
Yep.
Mariana and Carlos, thank you so much for being on the PeakDay podcast today.
Thank you, Martha.
Thank you.